Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic less known classic. This is episode number. Let's see, what episode am I on here? I know it's 28. Let's see, because this Comic Corner I've been trying to do the past couple days. It's just that I've had zero time over the past couple days. That's the sad truth of the matter. Now, if I get this page to move, I can tell you what Comic Corner I'm on. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Can you move? Can you please move? Apparently, it looks like my page is not moving. I'm trying to find out exactly what Comic Corner I'm on, but the page is just simply just not moving. I'm not a big fan of my computer does this sometimes, where I'm trying to scroll down something and it just doesn't want to move. There was one point, I think it was like a few days ago, my computer, like everything was moving at a snail's pace. Okay. No. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow, last one I did was 3 days ago? Okay. So yeah, last one I did was on Wednesday, believe it or not. So this is Comic Corner number 2879 and Doubleshot number 2773. Two more books here. One character, the first one here, who did technically a book published in the 90s, but it was a mini-series. Actually, it was a short-lived book. We're going back to the Man-Thing. This, of course, is the Steve Gerber collection, collecting issues 9 to 18 of Man-Thing Volume 1. All 5 giant-sized Man-Things. Daredevil, issues 113 to 114. Along with material, I think it's from Monsters Unleashed. Yeah, 8 through 9. Yeah, these issues are very bizarre, to say the least. Yeah. And I should mention the 5 giant-sized books. Yeah, I heard there was somebody, I think it was on Campus's podcast, when they heard the name of, it's Giant-Sized Man-Thing, they thought it was a joke, the whole thing with Giant-Sized Man-Thing. Of course, the giant size itself, which, here's some weird coincidence. This year is 50 years of the giant size thing from the 70s. Which I find that to be interesting. Because recently they just released giant size Thor. Of course, they all gave one for Spider-Man, which he had one obviously. I think X-Men had one. They, for some reason, gave one to Spider-Gwen. Yes, Spider-Gwen. But these following characters had giant books in the 70s. Man-Thing, Werewolf by Night, The Avengers, The Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. He had like 8 of these damn things. It was all giant size Superstar, but that was one thing. There was all giant size X-Men. I think that was it. Yeah, and basically they're just multi-page stories, and they came out quarterly. That was simply the basis for them. Like, the first thing published in this trade here is Giant Size Man-Thing number 1. It's basically Man-Thing versus thing called the Glob. Yes, this is the first thing published in this trade here. And some of the issues were published in between issues for some reason. Excuse me. The Glob himself last appeared in, Incredible Hulk 129. Yeah, he just randomly shows up alive here. Yeah, the Glob is like a Man-Thing ripoff. That's what he is. He's basically just like an evil Man-Thing. And let's have it where Man-Thing fights the Glob. And now, by the way, this only was his 3rd appearance, because after this, he went straight back to Incredible Hulk for a couple issues. Popped up in Savage Hulk number 1 from the 90s. Nick Fury's on Commandos. His appearances were very sporadic after this. Like, he was not big of a character. And that was the story that was the opening story of this damn thing. Yeah, everything else was mostly reprints in this book, but Gerber wrote it and Mike Pung did the artwork, which I thought was really good. Yep. Really fun story. Yeah, so it's like, I guess to figure though, why not? The Daredevil issues is mostly put when Daredevil was, I think this is when he was in San Francisco. I kind of view these issues, but I'm kind of discussing these here because, I guess because Man-Thing appears in these issues. Yes, so this is when he was dating Black Widow. By the way, had this thing in the 90s where in his book, during one of the status quos they had for Daredevil, they had it where this look he was dating Karen Page. He had an obsession with Black Widow. He was obsessed with her. Like, he kept constantly thinking about her, despite the fact he was dating, well, her. So, now, you're probably thinking, does Man-Thing actually appear in the story? Yes, he does. He appears at the end of the issue because it involves the Deathstalker and Gladiator, and they just probably included it here because my guess is because this was probably the very next appearance of the character, and then they continued over the pages of Man-Thing number 9. Well, actually, the story ends in a cliffhanger. You would think, oh, they would continue to have the next issue here. Nope, they went straight back to basically Man-Thing. No, seriously, that's what they did here with this trade. They just went, like, you have this really cool cliffhanger at the end of the book, and it's straight back to Man-Thing. Yep. They say his next chronologically appears in Giants Make number 2, but they put Man-Thing number 9 here, which is a standalone issue. It's called Death Watch. Him basically deal with a couple, like the senior citizens for like a couple issues while fighting a freaking demon. Yes. By the way, the cover itself, for I think both these issues done by the late Gil Kane, which is awesome. Mike Putnam even joins the cover news. Issue number 11. The return of Richard Rohr for the book, first time since the Daredevil book. Yeah, he's back in the book again. We also have the Demons of Liberation, this terrorist group, former Vietnam vets still appear for this one issue. And of course, they'll appear again after this, sadly. 12. It's basically the first appearance of a guy named Brian Lazarus. And this guy here, I think this is the guy who wrote a book that did pop later. Which, oh boy, oh yeah, we also had the first appearance of Captain Fate, who's a character who, believe it or not, even appeared as of recently, like over like 10 years ago. Yeah, he appeared in the very next issue of Man-Thing, and then he returned for the following volume Man-Thing, I'll discuss later, and then he returned after that in 3 issues of Captain Britain at MI13, where he became a vampire. Yes, because for some reason they had them associated with with the Dracula's Vampire Nation. Also, for instance, Maria Spinner. Yeah, she is a pirate. Well, someone who's reincarnation of a pirate. And she also returned from the next volume. She actually returned for the final issue of this book, which we'll discuss in our time. And after this issue, of course, Captain Fate would appear next volume. And then we have where it's a issue featuring Ted Stallis. No Man-Thing this issue. Yeah, and then basically 16, 18, it is the most bizarre issues I have ever read. So, there's this old man, 60, dressed up as a freaking Viking, and he thinks all the young people are wussies. We need to be macho man. So, he works with the Mothers Against Decency, which I hear about this type of, I'm like, Jesus, comedy. Yes, it feels like basically like a stupid thing that I would hear when I was a kid about senior citizens, where I would hear him say like, "Oh, kids are born to be, or they're born troublemakers." I'm like, I didn't say this to them, but I'm like, are you freaking stupid? Kids are not born troublemakers. That's bull crap. That is your own personal thinking. That makes no freaking sense at all. The Mothers Against Decency is just a stupid group that Steve Gerber created who didn't really return after this book. Now, and there's also this book that basically decided like, oh, this book is hated. Like, it is so controversial. We have to burn all the freaking books in the freaking town. For reasons. And also these issues, Man-Thing goes on a rampage. Yes, he goes on a rampage killing people. Yes, he is killing people, and there is this protest group, Mothers Protect Decency. And the Mad Viking works with this nonsense group. The whole thing with them is just utter nonsense. Excuse me. But how does the trade present after issues 9 and 10? Because first starts with Giant Size Man-Thing number 1. That's where it starts with first. And then it's the Daredevil issues. And then it's Man-Thing 9 and 10. You're thinking, okay, what's next? Is it, Next is Giant Size Man-Thing number 2. That is what's next. Man-Thing number 2 focus on this girl in this group, in this book. Yeah. I love the covers here that Frank Miller does, and all the other artists who work in this book. It is purely amazing. Yeah. We have the first appearance of Vivian Sekis and her daughter, who only appear, like, these characters only appear, it's like a whole thing is like going to kill Man-Thing. It's a really good Giant Size book. Yeah, apparently these people are the family of a guy who died back in issue 8 of Man-Thing. He got killed by the Fool Killer. Yeah, he was like a recurring villain in this book, and then he just pops up in this. It's like this book is like a follow-up to that. Yeah. For some reason, this Giant-Sized book is a follow-up to that issue. It's like, oh, we gotta follow that issue, so I think it takes place afterwards. Yeah. But it's a good Giant-Sized book. It's like, okay, so... Oh yeah, by the way, the Fool Killer killed him. Man-Thing later killed him. Yeah, Man-Thing killed one of the Fool Killers. And then after that, after the Giant-Sized book, next is Monsters Unleashed. Yes, they include the backup story for this one. Yes. Now, this is a prose story. It's an okay prose story. It just, I guess they made Man-Thing a prose story because why not? People get killed. And then right after that, we move on to issue 11, which I've discussed already. Yes. This is when Roy returns to the book, first time in a bit. And issue 11, then this issue 12 in the book. This is how the book publishes these issues, believe it or not. And then it's 13 and 14 because of Captain Fate. They're thinking, okay, so we do like 11 to 14 after Giants as Man-Thing number 2. Like, okay, interesting. Which I like the whole pirate aspect here. And then right after that we issue, of course, issue 14. By the way, this is how Captain Fate looked like back in his one of his appearances. He looked like an actual pirate, not like nowadays where he's bald. Is he dead? No, he just disappeared. And next came Giant-Sized Man-Thing number 3. A world never made you think, oh, is this basically a story for Howard the Duck? No. Howard the Duck does not appear in the Giant-Sized number 3. He appears in number 5. Yeah, this book features the return of Jennifer Kale, who last appeared in the opening issue of Man-Thing. That was her previous appearance prior to this very issue. Was the opening issue of Man-Thing, which I find that interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after this one issue, her next appearance is in the final issue of this volume. And then she next appears in Howard the Duck. Yeah, for reasons. course, we also heard of Dominique Cantor, who dies in this book. Yes, he's another character who returns. It's basically, let's basically have Man-Thing get summoned to a world of sorcery. Because why not? Yeah, it's basically a war traveling issue, which I like that. I think that's really cool. By the way, they brought back this guy for, despite him apparently dying, they brought him back for an issue of Fantastic Four by Dan Slott. I think it was a flashback, I think it was. We also have a return of Cork of Cathra. Although it was Cork the Barbarian, which is easily a Conan Barbarian ripoff. And he shows up with Man-Thing and him are talking. And then he also last appeared in the opening issue of Man-Thing. He, of course, did very little after this. His next appearance will be the final issue of this very book, which we'll discuss another time. And then he popped up in Howard the Duck for a few issues. And then his most recent appearance was Spider-Man Back in Quack. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And so they're in a place called Kurthia. Because I guess Gerber wanted to revisit basically a supernatural place. Which is an experience to be Man-Thing 21, and that'll be the last time we see it. Yeah, I really enjoy the supernatural stuff Man-Thing does. He does it occasionally, he doesn't do it all the time. Mostly he just hangs out in his own swamp. I guess he'd figure bring it here. And then we have 15, which is a standalone issue. That's published next. And then 16 is of course I mentioned, debut of the Mad Viking. Yes, so everybody goes nuts. And then, before and then after this one issue, after 16, then we do Giant Sized Man-Thing number 4. That is what's next. Right after basically having issues 15, 16, we it's like, we gotta put in there the fourth Giant Sized Man-Thing. Which this one is first appearance of a character named Alice Remus, who's a character appeared once, just a girl who it's a kind of an oddest issue. It's like, let's have basically just have the book deal with weird, more odd stuff. And it continues over in the pages of Man-Thing 17, which, yes. And this is the book burning stuff. And then, sadly put issue 18. Oh, Mothers of Decency. Yeah, so the book burning is about, because this book talks about sex. And I'm like, lady, you probably done it. And it made, the whole thing of this is so freaking stupid. And I'm so glad this woman never appeared ever again. Yes. Yeah. And then, of course, in the conclusion of this really stupid storyline, basically, the Mad Viking died. His own granddaughter got killed by him because, she thought she was turning whatever he doesn't like. Yes. And then she dies, and then Man-Thing murders him when it would basically, fear the touch of Man-Thing with his toxic touch. So, he has unintentionally become probably the second major character to die at the hands of Man-Thing at this point. Yes. And because of all the craziness with Citrusville at this point, Richard Rory, after issue 18, he and Carol left town. Yeah, they left town. Carol herself would not appear much after this. Yeah, she, of course, would appear for the rest of this book, and then she appeared in Savage She-Hulk, and that was it for her. Mm-hmm. And after issue 18 was the last issue of the publisher's book where, like Man Thing. This, and then we have one more. Let's have the final giant size Man Thing, and this is the one that basically serves as a backdoor pilot into the Howard the Duck ongoing. And part of this book was reprinted in the Howard the Duck complete collection book, but just the Howard the Duck portion. Basically, Fear Times 3, it's basically just the whole thing with the opening story of this book. It takes place prior to the events of Man Thing's debut, which was in Savage Tales #1. And then we have, it's basically him and Ellen Brand at Tanner Carnival, which I've heard a couple different stories related to her. Like, in the debut story, she was depicted as Ted Stallis's fiance, basically his wife. And then they later retcon in their book that she was actually his fiance. They never married. Yeah, the second story where he debuts character named this weird demonic creature. Let's have Man Thing fight. Let's Man Thing fight it. Then we have Sins of Fathers, where it's like basically kind of like Jason Voorhees type of story. And then we have Man Thing versus a guy called Jackson Hunter, who only appears in this one issue. It's like this crazy guy tries to kill Man Thing. And then we have the Howard the Duck story, which led to his own solo book. Now, is the Giant Size Man Thing #5, is that the last thing published in this book? Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's really like the last thing published in here. Mm-hmm. But you gotta admit, good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I give Man Thing by Steve Gerber, the complete collection, a 9 out of 10. Next up is going to be interesting. We have a brand new series to discuss here. And that is Darkahwk. Yes, here for Darkahwk, we're discussing the opening 12 issues of the series, along with issue 15. Because it's an issue, it's a conclusion of the story arc. Issue #1, by the way, Chuck Dixon in his podcast, he was not a fan of this book. Because he read this book, he says, this book isn't written by a comic writer, this is written by an editor. Yeah, that's what he put in the... He pointed to this book, Night Thrasher, and like one other book. I get Night Thrasher criticizing that book because you read this other book, it felt like not a lot happens. Nova, same guy writes it, Famous Caesar. I felt more stuff happened in that book than in Night Thrasher. This is by Danny Figueroth. Which, get this, in the opening 3 issues, it's a story arc where the issue opens up where we see Darkahwk already in a suit, and then we see the Hobgoblin. Yes, the Hobgoblin is here for the opening few issues of this book because he went out west for a few issues. Why not? And there's stuff here with Chris Powell and his family. I think they have it where he finds, like, the first issue doesn't explain how he gets the diamond. He just finds it by pure randomness. He just finds that and puts it on, and boom, comes Darkahwk. Yeah. Design-wise, the suit has not changed very much at all. It just... I think the only thing majorly changed about the Darkahwk suit is basically the color scheme. Oh, and his nickname is Buckethead. A nickname he shares with Nova. Yes. It kicks butt, takes no names. He just puts it aside, stops fighting in his home. Yep. And then, well, he hasn't dealt with freaking Hobgoblin yet, so let's have it where in issue 2, get this. So, in issue 2 of this very book, they have it where issues 2 and 3, we have Spider-Man paying a visit to the book. My guess is a boost of sales because Marvel's policy, I think, even so at this point, let's put Spider-Man's book, hope the book sells. That didn't work on Apple Soup, bro. Nope. because he appears in the opening issue, and then 9 issues later, the book ended. Yeah, NFL Super Pro. Oh boy, this is not the it was an okay book. I think that the Captain America thing was interesting. Oh, let's claim that Spider-Man teams up with NFL Super Pro. He does not. And Super Bro himself, as far as I can tell, he has not appeared since this book ended. Yeah, it was really bizarre. Like, they claimed the suit in the book was bulletproof. Yes, seriously. The book was hilariously bad. And the story goes is that Fabian Disease did the book because it was so he could get tickets to a football game, which I talked about this. Okay, so the game he got a ticket to was a Jets game when they lost. Yeah. I love the fact we have Spider-Man here. I think Spider-Man used really well by Dan Figueroa. Yeah, and this, of course, was demonic Jason McIndale. I gotta admit, these 2 issues were absolutely amazing. And then they team up for these couple issues. They team up here in these 2 issues. And then Spider-Man leaves town. I guess, bye. Yeah. And he takes Argon with him. Because it's a great team up. I love these 2 issues. I thought these were just really good. At least, unlike Night Thrasher, where I feel like not much happened, this feels like a lot of action. We get story progression. I thought this book was really good. I don't get why Chuck Dixon doesn't like this book. Yeah. I don't get it. I get maybe not liking Night Thrasher, but he should kind of give this book another chance. That's my announcement anyways. And then we debut an original villain for Darkahwk. A guy called Savage Steel. Yeah. His real name was Harry Lennox. And he was a recurring character in this very book. Yeah, there was one thing I should mention here. I've discussed part of the first annual for Darkahwk. I'll discuss the rest of the annual when I come back to the book. Yeah, he fights him in here in this issue here. By the way, the book, I think it's in LA, I think it is. And then he fights a guy called Portal. Yeah, Portal is a character who's actually Charles Little Sky. He was a character from pages of Avengers. Yeah, his first full appearance actually was 2 years prior to, and he had a partial appearance in Darkahwk number 5. Yeah, he appears in 5 and 6 as a quick little 2-parter for him. And then we have him team with we team with Captain America and Daredevil taking the frickin' UFOs. Yeah. The UFOs. Cool. And then we have, I guess they stopped the whole guest stars. Which is having the Earth-Shattering Saga continues. We have Lodestone, who is a female villain for him, who debuts issue 7. Yeah, and she's actually one fairly recurring villain, not much. She made a reappearance in Avengers Incorporated. Yeah, and Mike Powell, Chris Powell's father, he was a cop. There's also the headset. And then he has a team with the frickin' Punisher. Yeah. Punisher makes a guest appearance in this book. At the previous period in the Red Robin story arc. Yeah, and Punisher I think is here for a couple issues. No, he's here for 1. And then basically we have the start of the Heart of the Hawk story arc with issue 10 and includes issue 15. Where in the opening few issues we have Darkahwk versus Tombstone. I'm like, that is so awesome. The fact we have Tombstone appearing in the book. And it continues for another few issues. Yep. And then Tombstone is shoved to the side so we can have a couple issues where we have Darkahwk take on Venom, which I discussed already, and with Venom Epic Collections. And the finale for this story is issue number 15. Yeah, they wrap this up basically having one more fight with Tombstone. But that's it. I gotta admit, this book was actually really good. Yeah. And in case you're curious though, was this the only book Dan Figueroa wrote? Oh no. First book he wrote was actually, first major ongoing series was Dazzler, which is already in issue number 6, and he wrote it for most of the book. And then he did some web experiments, which I discussed already. He did some Psy-Force. By the 90s, he basically did Darkahwk and a few other books. And he did Darkahwk, it looked like he did the whole book. Even working on some Spider-Man books, he still did Darkahwk. The entire 50 issues. And the last thing he ever did was a one-shot called Darkahwk, Heart of Hawk, where he faced his old villain Phil Brazen. Yeah, he first made issue 1, and he's a fairly recurring villain in this book for like the first 14 issues. After appearing in the 2 annuals, he appears a few more times after this. Like, his only appearances are only in Darkahwk, aside from a guest appearance in Web of Spider-Man. But for the opening issues of this book, I thought the book was really good. Yeah, it's a shame that Darkahwk, Heart of the Hawk was one of the last books that featured Darkahwk as, well, Chris Bott as Darkahwk. Yep. But Danny Figueroa's last regular book he did for Marvel, let's see, that's a novel. That's their novel. So, the last regular book he did for Marvel for a long time until he did that one-shot was Spider-Man Friends and Enemies. Yeah, he did this miniseries. And this was his last book he did. Yep, last book he did for quite a while. I've never reviewed this book. I've not even read it. But it seems like the only major ongoings he worked on was Darkahwk and Dazzler. Other books, it was like, and a little bit of Psy-Force. We worked on a few ongoing series, not much, but I don't think he's a terrible writer per se. It's just that I don't get why Chuck Dix doesn't like this book. I don't get it. I would love to know. Okay, so yeah, that's particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and tune in this link button. I don't think I have time to work on Case Closed tonight. Probably about tomorrow. It's fine. Not a problem. It's only one. It's original, so it's not gonna hurt anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my next. I'm gonna take a little break, and then I'll do my next comic corner because basically this will be my 4th video in a row. So I'll be back to do one more comic corner and call it a night. Okay, let's do. Bye.